Welcome to the real journey of the entrepreneur. The journey of any entrepreneur begins with a decision, then writing down your vision, then the execution of that vision. It is not for the faint of heart. It is for those who understand how powerful your mind is and that you can truly create the life that you deserve. It does require a unique formula that includes belief in yourself, a lot of consistency, connecting with an OG, a lot of tears, missing out on a few events and things, and taking a whole lot of risks that will allow you to see your vision and dream come to pass. This journey of the entrepreneur is from the perspective of a wonderful mother, a business owner, whose goal is to break generational barriers and normalize the process of wealth building and financial wellness through entrepreneurship, all while creating a social and give back along the way. I am sharing this journey with you and invite you to share this process with me. Let's do this together. It's my own, but you have to feel comfortable to own it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I will always support you.
Thank you.
Well, hey there, good people. I am super excited to have you join us for another episode of The Real Journey of the Entrepreneur. As we are entering into this space, I am so excited because I am interviewing some of the most dynamic and really seasoned entrepreneurs that we are all going to be learning from. And my next guest today is no different. I am, as you know, the host and producer of The Real Journey of the Entrepreneur. But guess what? As you've been following us, I am also a full-time entrepreneur. I'm the founder and CEO of 11375. We're here to inspire other businesses to ensure that they have the business resources that they need to make them successful. I've been in this space specifically for the past 8 years. Believe it or not, I am not an overnight success, although, we make it look that way in our appearances on social media. But this is a process and a journey in itself that takes time. I promise you, I am an 8-year overnight success. So I am so excited to welcome my colleague from a program that we just finished, the 10,000, Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses. We are a part of Cohort XL, Cohort 40. And my colleague that I am about to bring on is impressive, an angel investor, serial entrepreneur, lawyer. Like, we do need to have someone who can help us to read through our contracts in our back pocket. And our next guest is no different. Hi, Achumboro. How are you? And welcome to The Real Journey of the Entrepreneur.
Thank you so much for having me, CEO Anita Pierce. Your video was amazing. Amazing. I sat back. I wanted more of it. It was like a miniature movie. I want part 2 and part 3. It's phenomenal. Thank you for having me on. And I look forward to talking with you.
So I want the audience to first, because I always do a disservice when I'm doing the introduction. Please do tell us about who you are, a little bit about your businesses. I mean, you are a serial entrepreneur and you are a lawyer. So how do you manage? Do tell.
Prayer. Prayer is the short and long answer. Prayer.
That part.
I think a lot of it comes down to just going forward. There was something, whether it was in your video or I heard it from you before, where it starts with a decision, right? Starting with the decision. And after you have that decision, I think you're making micro decisions every day or every week or every month not to quit, right? Not to quit, to keep going on. So prayer is a big part. God is the full part. Other than that, It's interesting in a way. I started entrepreneurship really because from a young age, it's just been tough for me to get a job. And when I say tough, even from the age of me, born in Ghana, raised in the Bronx, and then Westchester. So high school and up, I was in Westchester. Before high school, I was in the Bronx. And I always want to work because we didn't have much money as a family. It was really either get chips or pay for the bus fare when the bus fare was like $1.25.
Right.
Age myself. So it was that. So I always wanted to earn money, and it was just very difficult for me to get a job from the youngest of age. But I have worked at Dunkin', I've worked at Wendy's, etc. So it instilled in me, if it's this difficult to get a job, I might as well start businesses. And that's really what it grew out of. It was going to be a tough road either way. And I did well in school, but it was just the job application process. I wasn't good at it. And I don't really understand it till now, since I've interviewed so many people. So probably now I can navigate it, but it's not the life for me anymore. So that's a little bit about my journey.
So the businesses that you do have, what are they?
Yeah. Okay, so the easiest to explain is UpLift Communities. So what we do with UpLift Communities, we're a government contracting company, but we focus on education. Growing up, I wish I learned skills that I thought would have better prepared me for the world versus some of the things we were taught in school. And a few years ago, we started this in 2019. Instead of complaining about it, a friend said, hey, there's actually a budget for this with the government. You can go and you can teach students how to do these things and then go out and teach the community. Because my biggest thing is, my first business didn't succeed, right? I didn't succeed. I learned a lot from it, but I didn't succeed. So I'm very focused on business models now. I'm not starting anything if the business model doesn't make sense and I can't make it scalable and sustainable. So I had to really look at it and then realize, no, there's enough of a market in here. We do have a unique value proposition. I think we can win it. It was a lot harder than I thought it would. Being UpLift is actually my fourth company. So I thought it was going to be much easier. So now it's in the last year and a half, we finally have kind of found our groove. So that's where So we teach entrepreneurship, financial literacy, leadership, and workforce readiness, things that we think are really instrumental, especially in Black and Brown communities, to help people get from surviving to thriving. Ataande Advisors, so that was a amalgamation of my previous skills. So being an attorney, I used to do brand consulting, strategy consulting, and it's really a consulting service, which I did some white label stuff for companies or executives. So I'm behind the scenes. And now I'm actually going to start ramping that up, where I'm going to bring it out. Once again, I don't like to do things until I find a business model that survives, that's scalable, and sustainable. So I think we have one, and we're going to start implementing that in April, to scale that out, to also help out people who can't traditionally work with, experienced consultants.
Okay, wow. Let's unpack first UpLift Communities in the government contracting space, where we share experience in that space. So you mentioned that there is a budget, or was a budget, for the work that you're engaged in. As a MWBE certified business, how do you sustain that aspect of your business? Is it that you only work with one of the agencies, or are you branching out? Like, what does that look like for your?
So for me, that's a great question for me. And that's why my next step is actually to engage and work with you to expand out. Because what we really focus on right now is primarily the Department of Education. The Department of Education has a phenomenally huge budget. New York City Department of Education in particular has a bigger budget than I think 15 to 20 US states. Think about this. But that money is mostly towards teacher salaries, maybe construction, building things. So it's not necessarily open to vendors, but there's still a piece of that is open to vendors. It's a cumbersome process, to engage with them at times, especially at scale. However, that was our entryway, and that's how we became established, do that, and via subcontracting. So we did some subcontracting because regardless of what I found out in government, regardless of what you did in the public sector, I mean the private sector, unless you're, let's say, unless you're very well known, it's not an easy transition to get contracts in the public sector, right? So they have to actually have seen your work themselves or know another public sector employee that has seen your work. And we had to build up, we had to do a lot of things for free. Some people often skip this part in entrepreneurship, right? We did a lot of free programming and went and showed up. I remember right before COVID, even as COVID was going on, but schools hadn't completely shut down, we had an opportunity to speak at a college. And this was a free program that we're doing. And I still pushed through to do it with the risk of that, because that's what I knew needed for my business to get to the next level. And that engagement, plus some of the other ones we did, gave us some reference points in the public sector that recommended me to our clients who started paying for our service. And then that university actually came back and started paying for our services after that as well. So that's a bit.
I want to pause on that a bit. Let's unpack that, because a lot of times when you're in this space of entrepreneurship, there are things that you make a choice to do for free because there is a long-term relational benefit, which you just provided us as an example. A lot of the times that we are, and I myself have done it, and still part of my business model is a portion of it is, what can I do to expand my business? I don't do it all the time, but if there's I don't always see the long-term benefit, but especially when it comes to speaking engagements for schools or colleges or sitting on panels, there's always some sort of long-term benefit. You just have to keep up. Do you want to share any other examples where you have done things, for free? And I don't want to say free is like necessarily a bad thing, but you were not compensated for that experience, but it led to something beautiful and amazing.
Yeah. So one of the things you get from doing things for free, right, when you're not getting quote unquote an immediate economic value, aka you're not being paid, you get, I think you want to break it out into two major things. One is experience, because I don't want to say it's terrible, but it's unfortunate to get an opportunity that you can't maximize because you don't know what to do when you're there, or you don't have the capability to do it. So that's one thing. So I think oftentimes we think about unpaid opportunities as just a place where they're extracting value from us without understanding the value we can extract from the opportunity. So I'm looking at a place where I'm experimenting. I'm looking at a place where I'm putting my best foot forward. I'm looking at a place where I'm really learning how to tackle this job. So that's one thing. And then the second thing is prestige/connection. So I put prestige and connection in the same box. So that's the references, right? That's the titles, etc. So maybe you're sitting on a nonprofit board and you're not getting paid and compensated on a nonprofit board, but because you sit on one nonprofit board, now that gives you access or prestige to be able to get another project, contract, job, etc. So my example with that is before UpLift, I actually used to do a lot of workshops and group meetings for entrepreneurs, specifically Christian entrepreneurs. So I used to do that, and there was no plan in my mind at all that I was going to go into government. I didn't even know government contracting existed for these types of services. So that was it. But it's something I enjoy doing. And it connected me with a lot of entrepreneurs and gave me that credibility with them in terms of, hey, this is somebody who we can trust. This is somebody who you can trust, etc. Also leadership in certain organizations that I did as well in the past, which helped me understand how to navigate certain leadership spaces other than as a CEO, because it's different versus when you're a CEO and you're a founder/CEO and you're creating your own structure versus when you're being appointed to be a leader in somebody else's organization. So those are some those are some of my experiences around doing things for non-monetary gain.
And so circling back to UpLift communities. And so you began to do a number of workshops, programs that led to you being exposed in different areas. I'm looking at your website now, and in terms of the target market, you work with schools to have them to um, gain entrepreneurship skills, life skills, college readiness, and advancement. And when you think about, our communities that we are serving specifically, are there any specific outcomes that you and your team are looking for when you are working with our young people specifically?
Yeah. So the first major outcome we're looking at is a change in mindset. I think that's one of the biggest things we can possibly change in people, because that'll set them up for the most long-term success, because now they're out searching for opportunities and now they're approaching things in a different way. So that's the first thing we're really trying to shift the mindset. Secondary endeavor depends on what we're going after, but if it's entrepreneurship, we love for them to start their business. So they have launched in some way, shape, or form, and they're out trying to sell their product or service to their target audience. So those are, let's say, the two bigger outcomes that we want. Third is really information access, which is a subset, I think, of both. But one of the things, we work a lot with the Black and Brown community. And one of the things that we have, especially in the inner city of New York City, the Bronx, in Brooklyn, etc., some students haven't really even been outside their borough.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They haven't really been outside their borough. I remember when I first was applying to law schools, and when I started getting to maybe the second or third level of the application process, and when that happens, depending on the law school, they're going to invite you to meet with one of the alumni.
Mm-hmm.
And the alumni from the schools that I applied to, they went to some very fancy, prestigious law firms. So the first time I went on an interview, and I walk up and I enter this building in Manhattan and go straight to one of the top floors, and I'm seeing these beautiful views that I've lived in New York City since I was 3, that I've never seen, and I couldn't even envision the city in this way. Maybe other than going to the World Trade Center, I couldn't envision this from inside somebody's office and seeing, oh, this is a beautiful office space, and this is how people working. So it's that viewing of experiences, but also the information. Know, hey, these opportunities exist. There's not only the retail, working at retail. There are white collar jobs. There's many. It's not only a path to entrepreneurship. You can go work for Fortune 500, or you can go help out a small business and giving them those extra opportunities or different ways of viewing the world, plus the information to know how to execute their vision.
You are touching my heart. Because I can tell you that so I'm a Brownsville, Brooklyn born native, born and raised. And to your point about exposure, I will share a mentor of mine. We had in Brownsville, there was this pizza shop that was underneath the train station. It did not have any seats. You would just go in, get your pizza. You can stand to the side and eat, but there was no like tables to sit down. And I remember I was invited to come into Manhattan, and I remember seeing Bloomingdale's, back then, and being fascinated, because all we knew is downtown Brooklyn, was, what was it? I forgot what it was before, but it was Macy's and that area, downtown Brooklyn. But going to see Bloomingdale's and seeing what that was like. But then we went to a pizza shop for lunch, and we were able to sit down, and there were utensils, and it was a nice, you're sitting, they brought it to your table, and I'm like, so talk about exposure,
Mhm.
for as a part of our experiences is priceless.
Mhm.
And I think that as a part of what I've carried, throughout my journey and working with young entrepreneurs, is about that exposure component. And I'm so happy that you have included that or just recognized that as a need for us within our young people within the community. It could take us a long way once we're exposed. So I'm super excited to hear about that.
That's my pleasure. And you just reminded me of another story. This happened in Brooklyn. I wasn't expecting. It's one of the few days that I dressed down, and I went to this event. And this young man came up to me. And granted, UpLift is only 5 years old, right? UpLift is only 5 years old. So I went to this event, and this young man came up to me, and he was like, "I'm so excited to see you. You don't know how much you changed my life." And now I'm scared because I don't like when people come and I don't remember exactly where they're from, right? When we work with a lot, we work with a lot of students, but I really try to remember people's faces, and so I'm trying to gather some information, and I'll be let it be known. But I want to tell people, I share that because I want to share on two fronts. I'm going to share what he said, but actually, let me share what he said first. So he said, "You don't know how much you and your company changed my life." He said, "What you came in and you taught us about careers and I'm in a career I'm making amazing money." And he couldn't be older than 23, 24. I make this young Black man, I'm making amazing money. I'm doing well, and I'm going to continue growing. And thank you so much. I'm reading. And it was almost bringing tears to my eyes. I was like, control yourself. Control yourself. I'm not saying that's a good way to look at it. Control yourself. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful to know that impact. And I think that's important because I'm not saying this. Make sure you get paid. We're entrepreneurs. Make sure you get paid. But there's other ways too, like especially when you're offering real value and you're doing things that really change, the ways when you impact lives and people come back to that story, that to me, that's bigger than most contracts, right? That's bigger than most contracts. So that's something to also know about. Whoever, if you're thinking about entrepreneurship or you're doing something, sometimes reach back out to, or you're having a hard time, reach back out to the people you work with because their success stories can help give you that fuel so you don't quit, right? Things of that nature.
Okay. Giving us some good old gems to make sure that you continue to manage the relationships even after you've done the work. So that's a gem. So I hope you all are taking notes and paying attention to what my colleague has to say. So I want to jump into as an investor because that is a space that I recently, you always hear, these VCs, angel investors, but I didn't really know anyone until, I met you through our cohort. Would you be able to describe, briefly what being an angel investor really is? And if I wanted to do it, could we just, invest in a business and then walk away?
So short answer, well, actually, it's multifaceted. Yes, I say almost everyone should learn about becoming an angel investor. I don't want everyone to become one. And the reason why I say that is the probability of it's very risky in angel investing, right? 9 out of 10 is the failure rate, okay, in angel investing. So I don't want people just jumping in it and thinking everything's going to turn into Uber or Facebook or whatever. That's not, but I do think it's vitally important if you do it with the right mindset. So are there ways to do it? Yes and no. So short story is, depending on the platform, if you're not an accredited investor, you can't invest in certain platforms. So there's a platform that I like using, AngelList, angellist.co. That is one of the most important things in angel investing is deal flow. And let me actually take a step back. So angel investing, and to define that, angel investing is giving capital, usually in the form of cash, giving capital to startups who are pre-revenue, which means that's before they started making money. They're very early into their revenue stage, and typically you're investing in their three major first rounds. They call FFF. It stands for Friends, Families, and Fools. Just that's the round where you're typically going to get the best valuation, because after it should be increasing in value, so you get a smaller portion per dollar you put in. That's the first round. Then you have a pre-seed round, which is usually the company's raising maybe 10 to 100,000 in the US, and it's different in Africa, it's different in other countries. 10,000 to 100,000, maybe even up to 250,000. Then if you're looking at a seed round, that's like 100,000 to, the numbers have been changing a lot, but maybe 100,000 to 500,000 or 750 or a million. The numbers have been changing a lot, but that's the major early rounds in angel investing. So you're basing on that, you're investing off that valuation. And the reason why, because remember I said angel investing is very risky. So the first round is FFF, Friends, Families, and Fools. So they call us angels. We're really the first outside money, outside of friends and families, to really give them money and kind of, I don't want to say give life, but give people more hope, right? So that's why they're called angels, because you come in and give people more hope. Not to look at it as from a savior complex, you shouldn't do that, but that's some of the context behind angel investing. But yes, you can jump in. For the technical parts, I gave angellist.co. There is Gust. You can also invest. I'm very big on, especially if you're you have African descent, look at investing in Africa. The reason is you can get more bang for your buck because of the foreign exchange rates. And while there is capital growing or capital sources that are growing in Africa, it's not as developed as the US or Europe. So your money's more needed in Africa, and there's ways for you to do that invest. Now there's added risk because it's different regulatory, different legal risk, different political risk. There's currency risk with, so I come from finance, we have financial literacy. So and I'm a lawyer. So I'm very big on disclosing like the risk when it comes to things. I don't want people just to jump in and get too excited. So there's all those, and currency risk, meaning because it changes. So if the US dollar gets stronger, let's say it gets stronger by 2x, even if the company you invested growed by 2x, you're still at the same investment level because it didn't change just because of the strength of the US dollar. It can happen the opposite way too, but those are things to think of. However, you can get in, if you are able to get on angellist.co, you can get started for a minimum of $1,000. So that's not a bad way to start off, right? And please do not invest any money you cannot lose. Anything I put in, I don't want to lose. I try to vet as much as I don't want to lose, but I just really put it there and forget it, right? I put it there, it's gone, it's forgotten. I hope it goes really well. I check in on the companies once in a while, not too much. Really more so waiting for them to send me stuff, and it's there. It's a portion of your portfolio. I wouldn't say more than 1 or 2%. If you really want to get risky, 10%. But other than that, the majority of your other investments should be in more, regulated assets, more so in real estate, more so in stocks and bonds, etc.
Okay, so follow-up connection, right? Because as you know, within our community, Black and Brown community, there is a capital need and there are often challenges, but angel investing is not something that's common conversation. Is that something that you mentioned the risk, but there are some scalable businesses that most folks may not even consider angel investor? What are your thoughts about that?
Make sure whoever you're investing in knows what they're doing to some extent, right? Don't just invest in them because it's the same skin color. That might not. Don't just invest in them because it's the same family. Because once again, we have very limited resources comparatively, right? Comparatively, we have limited resources. So when you have limited resources, you don't want to, you want to protect your downside as much as possible. Also, I think while we often talk, don't get me wrong, capital is a big need but typically when you're getting capital, you're using it to buy things. Something a company usually, it needs more people, right? So I would say actually, if you're looking at our community, particularly the Black and maybe the brown community, I think more than capital, we need people to improve their intellectual capital and do sweat equity. So instead of giving people money, I think if you're great at marketing, go to that small business and say, hey, for 2%, 3%, 4%, I will do your marketing for 2 years. You do not have, because what they're going to take. So I would rather you do that, because now you're adding what they need more than, because they can take the money, hire the wrong person, right? They can take the money, hire the wrong. So say, hey, I really believe in this, or I think you can grow. I think you're scalable. Let's do a trade. I will work here for 10%, whatever you're negotiating. I'll work here, help you scale this up in XYZ ways, and we can go from there. And I think that will be actually more impactful than capital, because once that comes in, I think we'll be able to finally grow our capital base and then make more capital investments. That's actually how I started in angel investing. I started doing sweat equity before I had the cash to do cash deals. I started doing cash deals because that's more scalable than my time.
If that is not another gem about just learning how to get our feet in these spaces, I don't know what to tell you. That means that you're not taking good old notes, but you should be taking notes as well. So I appreciate, you sharing. I'm actually learning and taking notes as you are talking. But in final questioning, just really thinking about, some of the impact, um, that you are creating in the spaces that you're leveraging and utilizing your talents. Where do you see this going?
With which one? So I have
With both of them, because there is, just from listening, there is, they're separate, but there is a connection. So what are you gonna do with next?
so with angel, I'll start off with angel investing, and then I'll say one more thing.
Mhm.
So the biggest needs. So if we talk about the first investors are your customers, right? So that's why I start off with marketing or sales. So if you, I would say the biggest needs companies have are marketing, sales. So if you can uh, trade your time or your contacts for part of that growth or part of the revenue. If you don't want part of the company, you can do that. Legal. So if you have a legal background, helping them out. Operations is a big thing, helping out with SOPs, helping them streamline their process, become more efficient, things of that nature. And then there's tons of other things, but I'll say those 3-4 major things. If you have that skill set to go in and share, or if you're a human resource, human capital, if you're able to help out with training, that's semi operations, but those are things you can barter your time for with most small businesses or startups. Now, in terms of what's the goal? So with UpLift Communes, the short-term / 10-year goal is we want to help 1 million people start or grow their business, help train 1 million leaders, and help 1 million people become get jobs or get promoted in their jobs. So that's the intermediate 10-year short-term goal. The longer term goal is I want UpLift Communes to grow and actually be operating also in Africa. So similar to the things that we are building here in the US, I want us to do that in Africa and maybe on some other continents as well. For tiny advisors, in angel investing, my goal is to invest into 1,000 startups. So I hope to be able to invest in 1,000 startups and see some of them grow tremendously, and see these founders become phenomenal CEOs and hire a ton of people and help really change communities and countries. That's the goal with that. With Ataande Advisors, it is what I want to do even more so. It's different. I want to help people or businesses really unlock their potential and unlock the levels they can hit. So there may be CEOs who they're having a leadership problem, they're having a strategy problem, being able to help them turn them into Fortune 1000 or Fortune 500 companies. So those are some of the goals while building a team all across the world and operate 24/7.
So I am inspired. One, because I had a chance to spend, feels like 4 months, with you in our class, but just really, understanding what you have visioning for your businesses going forward. What are some, as we wrap up, are there any, like, additional tips, for those who may be wanting to follow in your footsteps that you can offer for those who, may be in a space and may not be clear about, but what are some tips that you can offer us entrepreneurs out there?
So I always say, like I started off with, this is, and I know people have different faiths, but really, God, I'm Christian. God is the most important to me. Carry me through some tough times, and there will be tough times. It is not what you see on Instagram or YouTube or what. It is not that. That is not entrepreneurship. And most of the time, especially if you're the CEO founder, people don't really care, unless it's other CEOs. They don't care about your employees. Don't care. I have some good employees, but they can't really. You can't share with them what you're really going through, because then that makes them feel unstable too. So you're kind of on an island. So I would say being able to be vulnerable in a way, and I used to have where a lot of CEOs and would come to me where I would talk to them because something, and I say this, and I'm going to continue to say this because nobody really talks about it much anymore. There's a lot of suicidal thoughts in entrepreneurship that people have, and I've had to take phone calls and talk with people and walk people through this and tell them it's natural. It happens to people. You're not necessarily doing something wrong. That's unfortunately part of this journey. Right, that's unfortunately part of this journey, regardless of whatever new milestone you hit. And thankfully, nobody has done that. But I have seen articles of other CEOs and whatnot go through that. So that's something I would say. If you are experiencing that, because of whatever's going on, that is a natural part of this journey. And that's why I say lean heavily into God. Other than that, humility. Man, when I first started my company, I was so proud. I thought I knew everything. I went to law school. I audited business school. And I was like, I know. And that first year, I learned so much, more than I learned through all years of law school. You taught me really well. You did. It's just so much you learn by experience. So knowing that, so that humility and being able to reach out to people for help. I'm still working on that. I'm still working on being able to ask for help. But that's a big thing in here. You're not supposed to know it all on yourself. Reach out to ask for people. That's why I think when I started this out, I said to Anita, like, I would love to. There's something me and Anita, we went to a conference last week. And I just love the way you work the room. Like, I don't know how to work the questions you ask, the way you set it up, the way you followed up, the way you pushed the conversation onwards, and the way you engaged. You did it with grace and excellence. And that was really incredible to watch. So, and seeing that and seeing, when somebody knows a lot more than you, being willing to say, hey, Anita, I need your help. Like, I need your help in this space. We're only working with we work with the DOE. We work with some nonprofits. We work with a prison, and we work with some other organizations, but we don't work with other government agencies. And that's the next growth. So, this space, I don't. How can I get under your wing, or how can I collaborate with you, or how can I consult? What's your consultation fee? And say, hey, I need that help to get to that next level. And that's okay. Like, being willing to do that. It's a really big, will be a really big stepping stones for anyone. So you don't end up like me with my first business, where doing anything and then just ended up having to divest and give it all up to my investors.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for the compliment that you shared, because we did attend, was the for NYSERDA, that we attended an event. It was the first time I had attended a space like that. Interested in different markets and how to be able to pitch appropriately to these different agencies. So we shared a new experience together in terms of entering into that space. And I am also excited, primarily because I definitely want to figure out how we can work together. And that's just not a buzzword for me. I know that a lot of times, um, and also I want to share that a lot of times you come across really amazing entrepreneurs. You don't have an immediate answer right then and there. You don't. Because, I know that sometimes in frustration, people are like, I want to work with you. It's a matter of figuring out the what. And
Mhm.
that's a process. It's not immediately you see someone, unless it's, for some, like, a service that's event connected, like a photographer or something like that. But this is building, figuring out how to build something that we can sell as a service to these specific agencies. And a lot of times it doesn't come up immediately. So I want to add that it's important, as what was stated here, that you really need to think about those long term relationships and how you are able to provide yourself as a resource, and also to be able to provide additional information to the communities that we are serving. So, in wrapping up, I'm so excited to have you, and I want you to come back because our time is it's just too short. But before I let you go, I do these fun, rapid questions that drive all of my guests nuts, but they're really fun.
Mhm.
Ready?
I am more nervous about this than the other questions, so but let's go.
So tell me, do you prefer shoes or sneakers?
Oh, that's tough. Uh, oh man, and I can't give you. I prefer sneakers, but I will more likely wear shoes because I'd rather be professional.
Okay, that's fair. Pizza or burgers?
If I'm in New York, pizza. Anywhere else, burgers.
How do you manage self-care? What does self-care look like specifically for you?
So I realized, and maybe this is something I was doing before, but I didn't realize that self-care, traveling. I travel a lot, and I didn't realize it till we couldn't travel anywhere because of the program. And I felt I was just getting a bit short with, in terms of my interactions with people. And I realized I do need to travel. Allows me to unwind a bit. So travel is my self-care, and driving nice cars, travel and driving nice cars. So I go on tour. I'll rent a nice little car and drive around for a day or so.
See, that's smart. That is really smart. What do you also prefer? Is it ice cream or smoothies?
Oh, that's tough. That's tough. Oh man. Does milkshakes count? No, I keep on I keep on giving alternative answers. So anybody who knows me knows I love Colombia, and especially Medellin.
Mm,
Colombia. Medellin has, these are supposed to be one word
that's
answers.
fine. That's fine. I'm with it. I am so with it.
Medellin, and one of the reasons I love Colombia is it has. So I'm very big into fruits, right? Fruits. So it has the most variety of fruits in South America. So you get a ton of different options of fruits, and they have this franchise called Cosechas, which is essentially a smoothie shop, a smoothie shop with all the. So I go in there. I when I went once a day, twice a day, I'm there to get I call it the eighth wonder of the world,
Mm,
Cosechas. When I brought my mom to Colombia, my wife, I make them go there, and my mom loves it. My wife, she thinks mine has too much ice cream or yogurt in it, but that it has all the fruit, so that's fine.
A good one. So now you're gonna want me to go to Colombia specifically for this space. So my final question is more so about your legacy and what does that look like for you? And that's usually not one word. Do tell.
So it's interesting. When I was younger, I was so upset at the world or didn't see things where I said I didn't care about having a legacy. When I mean this is high school, I was just like I wasn't seeing a path forward, and I said at some point I didn't care about a legacy. But what does legacy? It's that those 1,000 businesses. It's that impact on a business level. It's leaving. It's being a good husband, being a great father, right? Being a great husband and a great father, and that's what it means to me, because I see this and I'm watching it. Like I think at a certain point, you have to choose between your business and your family, perhaps. And I'm very at a certain, and when I'm saying a certain point, I mean, and I've had discussion with Jason, right? So I think maybe above 3 billion or 10 billion, it may make things really rough. And you'll only have to be like the 1% of the people make that to be able to sustain that and your family life. So trying to figure out what's the number that makes sense in terms of the impact I want to have, business in the community, and also my family. So legacy of somebody who brings my entire family together. Came here. It's just me, my mom, and I have a younger sister. And our families just kind of like flung out. A lot is still in Ghana. Some are in Canada. Some are in Europe. Being able to bring them together and being able to have like family vacations or family outings, which is something that we've never really had. That would make my heart full.
How do I even close the show with what when you finish with that? That is something that would love to unpack the next time we talk. And it's really like to hear you say, you know, what that is for you. It's a beautiful thing. And on that note, I don't want to see you go, but I'm going to share. We can reach Achumboro and team, LinkedIn, Instagram, UpLift communities. I'm going to tell you that this is an amazing soul. And so if you want to connect, please do so there. Don't hesitate, because again, as a business owner myself, it is not easy. And any way that we can share our experiences one another is the thing to do. Like, share, and follow on social media. Do not hesitate. He does have the ESQ behind his name. So yes, in other words, do not hesitate. So Achumboro, it has been indeed a pleasure interviewing you. I look forward to having you come back and share as you learn and gather. And oh, by the way, we have a book challenge. You want to share your goals?
A book, my goals.
The books, with the books.
With the books.
With the books.
So I am reading 300 books this year. I read 300 books last year, mostly business, self-development, investing. The year before that, 200, and the 2 years before that, 100 each. And it started because I realized to get to where I needed to go, I need to drastically improve my knowledge base. So that's what's going on. 300 books again this year, because greatness is about consistency. But that doesn't mean you should start there. That's not where I started. Start slow. You'll learn. You'll figure out the way you can do whatever challenge you want, your best learning method. But that's what I'm doing.
So everybody getting those books. I'm gonna join the challenge, because you have all these books and you don't want them collecting dust, or yeah, just go to the library. It's out there for free.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining the Real Journey of the Entrepreneur. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Take care. So there you have it, friends. There you have it. I told you that we have some awesome entrepreneurs that we are connected with. But I'm also going to tell you that cohort 40 is the best. I'm going to keep saying that just because we are. And we have a great and diverse group of individuals who were able to support us through this process. So, as Achumboro was saying, provided some very phenomenal tips throughout all of his conversation. Couple of things. Maintain relationships with those you have participated as your clients within your programs. You definitely want to ensure that that is something that you maintain as a consistency. Will help to provide you with reviews, positive or negative, but definitely will help you to grow your business with that feedback. Other thing, he's an angel investor and provided some great tips. One, make sure you conduct your research and know that there are risks associated. Do your due diligence. Also mention angellist.co as a way to provide information. Other tips as an entrepreneur, believer in God. I'm a Christian as well, believe in God as well. And there should be some sort of spiritual alignment within that you create for yourself. Vulnerability, being able to support and be able to find a group, connect with other CEOs, and reach out for help in this space. Because as I always tell you in my shows, that being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart. You do have to provide this space. You do have to do some things, and it's a long game. It's not something that specifically happens overnight. Check out Achumboro and his team via LinkedIn. You have UpLift communities as well to be able to learn more about what he is doing within his space. So also want to share 11375. We're here to provide with you support services. So if you need us, 718-691-8966. You can email us, like, share, and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and just send us a message. We'll be happy to provide you with support services. Also, if you are interested in being featured, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. So if you're looking to support by buying a digital ad, those ad purchases go towards our emerging youth entrepreneurs, which are connected, and they get to attend special events, also receive mentoring from other entrepreneurs. So if you are interested in purchasing an ad, that is where it goes. You can call us at 718-691-8966, or you can email us at info@11375.com. And so I am really excited to have you join us today for another episode of The Real Journey of the Entrepreneur. Please like, share, or follow us, and stay tuned for many more conversations that we are having with our colleagues. Thank you so much for joining. Take good care. Bye-bye. Welcome to 11375. My name is Anita Pierce, and I am your Chief Experience Officer. At 11375, we offer strategic alignment solutions specific to you and your business goals, and also connecting everything with social impact. So if you are looking for a really amazing organization where we help you to focus your strategy and connecting it with social impact, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We are on all the social platforms, and you can contact us at 11375. When I think about motherhood and the space of entrepreneurship, it is two of the most scariest things that anyone who has chosen to be a mom can do. I love being a mother. I love being able to smile, share, grow, have my CEO in the making, observe what it's like to be a business owner, to be able to use the things that are coming out of my mind and create, being in meetings, doing community work, and creating a space that we want to create for long-term wealth. Both are equally challenging. Both are equally scary, but the beauty about being in this space of duality lets me know that when I see her smile, when I see her laugh, when she challenges me to be a better person, I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.